Live, and we've just decided in the last, 30 seconds to a minute that I and we are streaming live. So we're streaming. And what is this? This is Discussing Who. And I'll just start out like we normally do and say the Discussing Network presents Discussing Who, a Doctor Who podcast. I'm Kyle Jones, and I want to start by welcoming back the man of the hour, Clarence Brown.
Oh, I thought you were going to say
the
Lee's the
hour.
man of the hour. but I'm glad to graciously take that position
Yeah.
for this episode anyway. And I'm glad to be here on with you guys. It's been a minute. So I'm glad that Who is starting back up and Discussing Who is getting its legs back. So, yeah, glad to be here, man.
You know, this is the first time I think the three of us have recorded in months together. And this is something new for us. I think I was going through discussing Clarence and discussing Clarence withdrawals. So, so before I completely go through withdrawals, I will welcome back not the man of the hour, the man of infinity, Lee Shackelford.
Yeah, try to fill those shoes. That's anyway. Hi guys, it is so good to be back with you. I'd forgotten, Kyle. You and I did an episode still a month ago, but it was just you and me.
Mm-hmm.
And
then we had 2 episodes with myself and Larry Irby from Discussing Trek.
Yep.
Very much enjoyed having Larry on. He is a big, let me say it one more time, big time Doctor Who fan. So always interested to get another perspective in, and especially someone that loves both classic and new Who.
yeah,
So thank you, Larry. Glad to have you on, but I am glad to be back with the two of you. And I know this is not technically true, what I'm about to say, but considering one of the topics that we have tonight is really appropriate. But I want to welcome everyone listening to our quote unquote 300th episode of Discussing Who.
Yes.
Fireworks.
Can you believe it? Can you believe it?
And Lee, I'm going to shoot this back to you. There is something that you like to say to everyone who is listening, and what might that be?
just simply thank you. Thank you for spending your time with us. We know you've got other things you could be doing. You may have other things you ought to be doing, but here you are, and we just always like to say thank you for dropping by.
Indeed. And Clarence, if someone were listening to us for the very first time and they were interested in finding out how to subscribe, what would they need to do?
Yeah, thank you for all the new listeners who are on for the new iteration of Doctor Who. We're glad to have you on. And I'm going to issue a call to action. You can support the show by subscribing, leaving a review, and telling a friend. If you have a review idea for us, please send that in along with anything else you want us to know to discussingwho@gmail.com, or hit us up at discussingwho on any and all social medias.
Awesome. And if you are listening to us on Apple Podcast, or if you're listening on Podchaser, wow, my brain. If you're listening to us on Apple Podcast, please leave us a rating or a review. We would definitely appreciate that. And of course, we will list that on an upcoming episode. And for everyone who is listening to the audio version of this, I am not going to do my usual amount of editing that I do. You will hear some ums. You will hear probably some, oops, I said that because I want to get this out as quickly as possible. So I'm going to do minimal editing, but I'm going to get it out because I am counting down to the 25th. This is the 14th. We are less than 2 weeks away from the Star Beast, first of the 3-part 60th anniversary. But I have a question, and Clarence, I'm going to point this to you first.
Oh.
The Whoniverse has arrived. It's like the Marvel MCU. Awesome graphics. It's only available. It's a one-stop shop, but it's only available in the UK. And there were tales from the TARDIS that we in the U.S. did not see proper. Thoughts?
I'm slightly conflicted, but it seems as if you're in the U.S., you have to go, and correct me if I'm wrong here, 3 separate places to get Doctor Who. You have to go to BritBox, you have to go to HBO Max, and pretty soon you're gonna have to go to Disney Plus. Now going to be Hulu something in the future. It's all over the place. I do love the notion of having a Hooniverse, having their tent pole in the iPlayer like we do in Disney Plus has for Marvel, or any other various services that has their tent pole section. But yeah, it's a little disjointed if you're here in America to try to figure out where and to go to get what. And in this case, we're not even seeing their exclusive content over here at all, unless you find it by some other means. So yeah, it's a little weird.
Okay, Lee, what say ye? What are your thoughts?
Weird and frustrating for us, but not unusual or unexpected, I guess. I mean, it's always been that way a little bit, right? We've there for a long time. What we had main access to, the mainstream, was BBC America, which cut the episodes all to pieces. So you're either waiting until the DVDs come, or you were torrenting them, and
Or you're buying them on Apple.
God have mercy on your.
You're
Eventually, yeah.
Eventually,
then you could do that, and Amazon Prime had them as well. But yeah, for a long time there, it was wait for the discs, or turn to a life of piracy.
So I did a little research into why we weren't seeing Tales of the TARDIS, and I think I've come up with what is probably the reason here. And I may be totally wrong, but I do know the Tales of the TARDIS was something that RTD kind of threw together at the last minute because he wanted a little bit more festive-ish, going on outside of just those 3 specials. Something more of a nod to the past.
Wow.
And I think we were a little bit spoiled, even though they butchered and, cut them up and inserted all the different commercials. But BBC America, even though it is an American basic cable network, it is jointly owned by BBC Studios and AMC Networks. Yeah. So I think that's why we got a lot of the British content, like some of that exclusive, because BBC Studios own that. Likewise, this distribution deal only included with Disney Plus the anniversary specials, the Christmas specials, and the 2014 series going forward.
That's right.
I think that is the best explanation I could probably give as to why we didn't get on Disney Plus, because they did not have the rights for that.
We know that there are deals within deals and wheels within wheels of all of this stuff, because once we learned that Disney was involved, I have just enough of a toe in the water in the TV business that I said, whoa, it's getting real, because in America, because once Disney is on board with anything, they can do whatever they want, and they will, push people out of the way to get their content out in front of you. So in some ways I felt good about that. I said, oh, thank God, it's all going to be curated on Disney. Well, and it's not as simple as that. So,
and I mean, maybe when the BritBox deal, depending on how much BBC owns or has with BritBox, but especially with the Max deal, maybe when Max's distribution deal runs its course and it's no longer applicable, maybe Disney picks up 2005 forward. Maybe.
Yeah.
But let me ask a question.
That's what I'm thinking too. But we don't know.
But let me ask
somebody
a question. Knows. We've always referred to the original 26 seasons as seasons, and 2005 forward have been series. So you could easily say season 1, 1963, Series 1, 2005.
Mm-hmm.
There will not be Series 14. Shudy's first series will
Right.
be Season 1.
Season 1, yes.
Lee,
So we're starting
thoughts?
over again. Well, we were joking about this before we got started.
What?
That is this episode 300 of this show? We don't really know how many episodes
Yes.
we've made, but it's 298 or 302. We're nowhere in the ballpark. And I said, hey, that's fine. We're talking about Doctor Who. I mean, which number Doctor was played by John Hurt? You know, the numbering is all messed up anyway. So hell, why not? Let's make Shudy's first episode or his first year season 1. I mean, why not?
I just can't see why they would do that, though. I mean, why further confuse things? It seems really awkward to do that. Almost like we're a comic book over here. Unless they're seeing
yes.
it as a true reset. Maybe that's just a sign that they're seeing this whole thing as a true reset and let's go
But-
with it. But it just seems weird to me to go
No.
back.
I'm glad you said comic books because, yeah, the truth is it really does bug me. And it bugs me in the same way of saying, no, now this is Fantastic Four number 1. It is
Oh,
not.
wait. Wasn't
No,
there a
it isn't.
Fantastic Four #1 2 years ago?
Yeah.
But
No,
Clarence,
it
I
isn't.
really think you hit on it by saying
Mhm.
the comic book part because
Yeah.
for I know DC does this too, but look at since Marvel was bought by Disney, how many #1s comics under Marvel Comics have had under that let's put out a new #1. Part of that I think is the Disney method, but the other part of that is if I'm looking at it from the perspective of Disney and I'm going to be promoting a show, do I want to have under a tentpole Series 14 and then people messaging me say,
fair.
as Disney, messaging Disney saying, hey, where's Series 1 through 13?
Yeah.
Oh, no, we don't have that.
Right.
But start it with Season 1.
Just blow past the question and say, here it comes. Doctor Who. We just
Bingo.
thought it up.
Bingo.
There's no history there.
No. Because yeah, I think you're exactly right, Clarence. Because it's not a hard reboot. We know it isn't. This is going to be all about continuity with the previous series, and people will find that out when they come to season 1 with the 15th-ish Doctor. or 14th or whatever he is. Yeah. So I don't know.
So, Lee, did you get to see? And before I say this, because I have been looking for a place where I could insert a spoiler warning. So,
Oh.
I think this is going to be the perfect place. And I'm
Here it
going to
comes.
say, if you have not seen, whether you're listening to us in the UK and you've seen them in their entirety, or whether you're listening to us somewhere else outside the UK and you've seen snippets on YouTube, if you have not seen Tales from the TARDIS, put us on pause, go out, watch those episodes or snippets, come back, because from this moment forward, spoilers. All right, Lee Shackelford, have you seen any Tales from the TARDIS?
I've seen the little bits that were, publicly shared. That were shared by the BBC or whoever.
Okay. Clarence, did you see any of them?
I have not seen. I've seen stills and
Okay.
maybe just a snippet of one of the scenes. I kind of felt like if you guys don't want me to see it, screw you.
Well,
I'm not going to break my back to try to find it in this case.
Right.
It just kind of ticked me off. I mean, I feel like, of course, it's a Hooniverse exclusive content, but what does that really mean? That means the people in the UK who pay for their television, I know they pay for the television, can only see it. But why would you? If I want to give you money, I want to give you my money. Why
Yes.
wouldn't you?
shut up and take my money.
Yes. There you go. Futurama. Let's do it.
Exactly. But yeah, because if I understand right, one of the reasons for doing the whole thing was to frame episodes of the classic series right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that to? So who's the audience then? If this is UK only, and we're talking
Yeah.
about a franchise that the nation grew up with, are you saying, hey, kiddos, many of you who think Christopher Eccleston is the first Doctor, how about this? And then here's some characters that you don't know, introducing you to an episode you haven't seen. Never mind. I had to say it out loud. That doesn't make any sense either.
Mm.
That's
So
fair.
who is it for? Who?
Or is it nothing more than a nostalgia feel good
Well,
moment?
that's right. Yeah, I'm limiting the thought to we're trying um, to
M-
build a market here, but yeah, yeah, that's I want to see it because of the trip down memory lane aspect. I know these are framing stories that I've seen, a dozen times, but I would like to see it set up by Peter Davison and Janet Fielding. I would like to see it, set up with
mm.
Sylvester and Sophie,
You
So,
know,
uh,
speaking of them, but
mm,
let me say this, and I'll come back to Seven and Ace. But the one that got to me, and I don't know why it got to me, but the one that kind of made me get misty eyed was Zoe and Jamie and
and-
Zoe.
yeah,
And no spoilers on what
right,
they reveal, but that was just, I don't know, when they said that they got something back, I'll put it that way.
yeah.
That was just like really kind of cool that they got that back.
And yeah, and if you know their whole story with the second Doctor, then you can surmise what it is they've gotten back.
Yes.
But yeah, and then Joe Grant and Clyde.
Oh, yes.
I want to see that just to understand the logic of. I mean, I know they've met, right? But
Right.
in the Sarah Jane adventures, so
Correct.
it seemed like that should bracket a Sarah Jane and not an episode of Doctor Who. But I don't know.
Mm. So let me ask you this. In the Sylvester McCoy, the seventh and Ace scene, and this is written by RTD, something caught my attention. And it could have just been a one off, but she said to him, "The last time I saw you, you were a hologram." And then he makes a comment, says, basically, time is a tricky thing. And this is not verbatim, this is from my memory. Time is a tricky thing. And sometimes in some timelines, I grew old, and in others, I regenerated.
Yeah.
What? Okay. What is the framing device for all this? That's what,
Yeah. The last time I saw you,
You were a
you were a
hologram,
hologram. Yeah,
which is Power
that's
of the
Power of the Doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Right.
get that. But yeah, so now he's flesh and blood, but he's a lot older, and he's not Paul McGann. So yeah, I understand.
Yeah. But in some timelines, I grew old, and in others, I regenerated. Is that just acknowledging the multiverse theory from Chibnall?
and that's what it sounds like. Or at least in
Yeah.
this story, it sounds like they're playing it up as a multiversal event.
Yep.
Well, we've had a sort of a BS CYA explanation in canon for how we can keep running into the doctors and they're getting older.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Time fluctuations and
right.
regeneration for the first Doctor, and
You will naturally perceive me as being the age that I would have been
right.
Yeah.
at this. Yeah. I thought, okay, yeah, whatever. But it's like I always say, offer me an explanation and I'm happy. And that
Indeed.
was, I thought that was a pretty good case. I thought, that doesn't really make any sense. I don't care. You offered me an explanation. I appreciate them just not pretending like it's not there. That's the thing that irks me. So I don't know.
So here's a question for you guys before we move on.
Hmm.
The Daleks, the first appearance of the Daleks is being recut and colorized and will be broadcast on November the 23rd. I don't think we'll see that over here. And we may get a DVD, but I don't think, based on us not getting Tales from the TARDIS, I bet we wouldn't get that either.
Hmm. Oh, you're probably right.
You know, I think we're going to get
And that's
2 days later, we'll get the Star Beast, but I
mhm.
don't think we'll get this. I think that'll be iPlayer exclusive.
So for us in the States, there's literally nothing coming on the 60th anniversary of Doctor
Unless something happens and we get the Daleks,
Who. Hmm.
I think we get literally nothing.
And yeah, and something I'd read about that, or did I dream this? Correct me if I'm wrong then, that this is not only a carefully colorized treatment of the second ever Doctor Who adventure, but there's also some adroit editing in it.
Yes, re-edited it,
Hmm.
and I'm wondering if they're adding bits of gold to the scores. In other words, it's going to be rescored as well,
Wow. Oh.
if I read correctly.
Oh. I'm just thinking that one of the things that doesn't match with continuity for the rest of the series is this idea that the Daleks are basically bumper cars. And it would really be easy if you're just going to say we're rebooting this show, and here's the second episode. And if we're just going to be, if that's little bit about how they move around, by static electricity on the floor, if that just isn't there, no,
Maybe.
That's
no, it's a
fair.
plot point. But no, they stopped one of the Daleks once by putting
Uh,
a mat on the floor and breaking its circuit.
mm,
Unless you cut that out.
You'd have to cut the whole thing, wouldn't you?
yeah. But
Hmm.
if they're taking, if it's going to be cut down into 75 minutes, I'm not sure how many
Well,
it would be. So that might be possible.
I forgot about that. That was the other thing, wasn't it? It's because it is
4
88 minutes
episodes.
long. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
I think it's 4 22-minute episodes or something like
Right.
that. It's yeah. So they're cutting. Yeah.
Yeah. So you may be right. That may be part of, because I know just from memory of watching it, they spend a lot of time walking through like
Yes.
the woods, basically.
We're establishing a Doctor Who meme. Actually,
Yeah.
yes. There's a lot of walking through corridors and running
Yeah.
through the woods. So yeah.
Bingo. Bingo.
Do we know how liberal they were with the edits for the Tales of the TARDIS? Like, did they actually
Oh.
cut those down as well to make a tighter or
Oh.
new?
That's a good
Story?
question.
Yeah. I have no idea.
That's a very good question. I'm wondering if it was just more of a clip/memory thing, where let's remember this a little bit, and then we see the classic, and then it goes back, and then they remember some more.
Oh, we don't even know that.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
Well,
I figured they just cut the whole thing into something shorter, but yeah, I guess they could have did it like a clips episode too.
well, some of our listeners will know because they've seen them. So please reach out to us and let us poor boys in the U.S.
Yep.
know because we're wondering.
So I have something else. Speaking of wondering, I have
Hmm.
something else I want to ask you guys. So again, very, very little has been said about Wild Blue Yonder. However, and I believe it was the latest either Doctor Who magazine or SFX magazine, there is a quote from RTD. And specifically for the second episode, this is what he said. And I want to get your feedback if you, well, I'm not going to color it. I just want to get your feedback. Excuse me, let me start again. We do very scary stuff. Some stuff is quite violent. It's not for children, it's about children.
It's not
Thoughts?
for children.
It's about children.
Are we seeing Sith Anakin in the temple? Is that what we're seeing? That's what it makes me think of.
That was all about children.
Yeah.
Yikes. Well, our RTD is great at breadcrumbs and misdirection and things like that. And so I have a feeling that's the kind of thing that you say just so people like us will talk about it. But I got nothing.
Okay. So Clarence, do you?
I had no idea. No idea.
All right. So every article that I saw that had this quote, the headline is showrunner says or writer says Doctor Who is not for children, is not
Yeah.
for children.
Yeah.
I didn't take that at all from reading this. Probably went way too deep with it, and I may be totally wrong, but I wonder if the second episode, and it's going to be funny if I'm right, if the second episode somehow deals with the timeless children,
Uh-huh.
because that was
It's about children. Yeah.
that was the name of the episode. It was, yes, it was the timeless child, but the name of the episode was the timeless children. And this says it's not for children, it's about children. And in that same article, or in another article released about the same time, he said that he would not be undoing his good friend Chris's work,
Yeah.
which I think is classy for him to say anyway.
Yes,
But-
and we've also heard from him that he definitely is not planning to just ignore Timeless Child and pretend like it didn't happen.
Right.
So this is not a change of subject. I saw watching a little piece the other day about the last seasons of the classic series, and about Andrew Cartmell's what they were calling the Cartmell master plan, because he was really hoping that the show would go on, and that he would continue to be the story editor and so on. And his big idea was to reveal that there's a lot more to the Doctor than we've ever known, and that he's not just your average Time Lord, as oxymoronic as that is. But he never got a chance to do much with it. We sort of hinted at it, and then the original series ended, and then in the new series we dropped that completely. So is RTD thinking, maybe it's time we go back and look at that, because it is canon. It did. We did hear about it in the days of Seven and Ace, and now Chris Chibnall has sort of brought it, has dropped it in our laps. So,
and who's to say the wild blue yonder, when we find out what that means, is whatever was between those two spires that the child was found under. We go to wherever that is. That might be the wild blue yonder. Again, mere speculation.
Sure. That's about all we got, right?
Exactly. All right, but here's go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, I'd love to know what Clarence is thinking.
Yeah.
Man, I don't know. I think the best theory I've heard is that the way the whole timeless children thing would work out better and people will accept it more if the master actually was lying, and that's his history and not the Doctor's. I think I could buy that a little bit more. As far as the Doctor, that knowing what we know of the Doctor still being true, I think I could buy a little bit more if it was actually the master. Wouldn't that be gut wrenching to the Doctor to know that? So I don't know.
Yes. Yeah.
Totally agree. But it's sort of like catch-22 for me. As much as I would like to see that happen, I don't want to lose the fugitive Doctor. I like her too much.
You
So
still
then
got to
we'll
think about.
then I have to understand where she came from.
So I embrace the multiverse explanation of this, which allows all of those things to be possible.
Yes.
Oh man. Well,
What
you
is-
know,
Or is that a cop out?
no, because over the past 6 weeks, I've been watching a very good show called Loki Who.
Loki?
And,
Yeah.
and we've been traversing time and space. It's been all timey-wimey and stuff. And yeah, they did their best version of Doctor Who. So who knows what they'll do?
But you know what I do know?
Which
Go
number
ahead.
Doctor is Tom Hiddleston? That's what I can't keep track anymore.
Hey, and there's a Lady Loki too. So just like,
Yeah.
who
It's
knows?
it's an alligator Loki.
So getting away from alligators, but back into magazines.
Yes.
Doctor Who magazine recently did a top 10 list of the top 10 greatest Doctor Who episodes of classic and the current series. So I want to go through those and just kind of list those 1 to 10 and then get our feedback, because there is something in this that I found very interesting. And I think you both will see the common thread of what I'm talking about. So the number one, and I know everybody does a top 10 list. We've done top 10. Everybody has a top 10.
Yeah.
But again, this is just Doctor Who magazine's most recent top 10 list. Number one comes in from 2015, Heaven Sent, the standalone Peter Capaldi episode,
Yeah.
Heaven Sent. Number two, another Peter Capaldi from 2017, the two-part finale, World Enough in Time and the Doctor Falls.
Yeah. I get that.
Number three comes from 1975, Tom Baker, Genesis of the Daleks. Number four, Peter Davidson, 1984, The Caves of Androzani.
Androzani. Yeah.
Number five, Matt Smith, David Tennant, John Hurt, Tom Baker, 2013, The Day of the Doctor. Number six, David Tennant, 2007, Blink. Number seven, David Tennant, 2007, Human Nature, Family of Blood.
Yes.
Number eight, Tom Baker, 1979, City of Death. Number
Okay.
nine, Sylvester McCoy, 1988, Remembrance of the Daleks. Number 10, David Tennant, 2008, Silence in the Library, Forest of the Dead. Dun, dun, dun.
Duh.
Anything, did you guys notice anything peculiar or a thread out of those 10?
We've reviewed most of those.
True.
Yeah.
True. I think City of Death may be the only thing we haven't
That's true.
reviewed.
So we should.
So we
Yeah,
should.
I just got a smile remembering how much the three of us enjoyed Remembrance of the Daleks.
Yes.
Yes.
It was just, what fun.
All right. So here's what I noticed. Heaven Sent. Or let me just go back through with the numbers.
Yeah.
Number one, number two, number five, number six, number seven, I believe, and number 10 are all written by Stephen Moffat. Now, was Human Nature and Family of Blood, was that Moffat or was that RTD? That may have been RTD.
You got me, and I claim that's my favorite, maybe my favorite 10th Doctor story, even though he's not the 10th Doctor in it. Yeah.
Let's look it up. I
I'm
see you
looking it
doing
up as we speak.
The benefits of video.
No kidding. People can get to watch agonized as we Google things.
I'm working on that Doctor Who language model, large language model, so we can just, tell it what we want.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I already have
Why
a
didn't the
name for
narrator?
it. You know how they have a name like, for different ones? I have a name for it.
What's that?
If we want a language model that doesn't work, we'll just call it Chameleon. But if we want one that works, we will call it Canine.
There you go. Yes, Master.
Affirmative.
That was Paul Cornell. I should have remembered.
Okay. Well,
Yes.
sorry, Mr. Paul Cornell, because I like your writing very much.
Yeah. Yes.
But seriously, other than that,
Lots
you've
of-
got a lot of Stephen Moffat's in there.
Lots of Stephen Moffat in there. And yeah, with the classic series, if he'd been alive at the time, he was alive. If he'd been old enough to be a writer on it. Yeah. When you do popularity polls like that, or favorites, when we get into the Fourth Doctor time, Genesis of the Daleks always comes up, and it has so many iconic things in it. But is it? I don't know. Anyway, we can talk about Genesis some other time, but Yeah, I'm just always a little surprised that it always rates so highly, but
And
it does have unforgettable moments in it. That's for sure.
And maybe that's what it is, because if you think about it, look at what the master said in the end of World Enough in Time. He actually refers to that as the genesis of the Cybermen. So it's
Mm-hmm.
funny that that story that they called in story
Yeah,
Genesis of the Cybermen is right there with Genesis of the Daleks.
sure. How about that? Yeah.
So before we wrap, guys, the only thing that I want to add, another RTD statement is, and I think this is time, but I want to get your thoughts. RTD has gone on record as recently saying that in series one or season one, Shooty's first season, we would not see the Daleks, that it was time to give
Yes.
the Daleks a rest.
Give them a rest.
Thoughts?
I couldn't agree more. There was also the hint that when we do see them again, they may be redesigned.
Ooh.
And we remember what happened last time.
Or the last two times, remember the Fisher Price Daleks? The
Well, that's what
color-
I'm thinking of. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm thinking of Chibnall's version of what I've called the junkyard version. You know, the
Oh, well, I like
The-
that. Yeah.
the
I don't know, but
are the slim down versions or whatever they were. You know, they seem taller and slimmer.
yeah, that's right. But yeah, then we got the Weebles or whatever they were. They were. Yeah.
Who knows?
Who knows? Who
Knows. Well, what I do know is I am going to get this episode out within the next few days. So if you're listening to us, it should be no later than, I'm going to put a commitment in this that I can't edit out or shouldn't edit out. This is the 14th. You should be listening to this on or before November the 19th, 2023.
Okay, you've said it.
I've said it. Therefore,
You can't take it back unless you cut on it.
it's a
Yeah.
fixed moment in time.
It is on the internet.
It's
You have
on
cre-
the
okay.
internet. Yes.
Well, that's right.
I
And if
can't
it's on the
undo
internet, it must be true.
There you go. And you know what, gentlemen? I want to ask one final question. Any other thoughts that you have before we wrap? And Lee, I'll start with you.
At the risk of starting to weep, I've been thinking about both of you a lot in the last couple of weeks for all kinds of reasons, and I just want to say, 300 episodes, guys. I just enjoyed this time with you 300 times or whatever it is, and I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for the two of you in my life, and I'm going to start crying. So there you go.
I will just say 301. Long may we record. And Shannon Perry, you'll know what I mean by that.
Here, here.
Clarence, anything from you?
To have made it through over 300 or right at 300 spoilers from Cal Jones. And sometimes we got him more than once in episodes. It was over.
That is
300
true.
probably.
Yeah,
More than two times in some.
we've
episodes.
had some.
So
We
to
have
have
had some multiple sport.
to have made it through that, I think we all should have a toast.
Boy, and
Well,
the
you know,
corny
Clarence,
jokes. I mean, we've
since-
lived.
Since you wanted us to stream, you're the one that suggested streaming tonight. And simply because we're on video and I get to record this forever and keep it forever, I'm going to say something I haven't said in quite a while, because you know what? Oh dear. I seem to have found my recorder.
Oh, thank goodness.
Oh dear. I seem to
something.
have lost and found my recorder.
It was in the TARDIS console the whole time.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh God.
Oh dear.
Come on. I need it. Give me the, oh God.
Oh God!
Shoot.
Jokes from the Three Doctors, ladies and
Shoot me
gentlemen.
now.
Jokes.
Oh. But you know what? For everyone listening, whether you've been with us for one episode, this is your very first. If you've been with us for 100, or if you've been with us from the very beginning, thank you for your time. Thank you for your feedback. Thank you for putting up with me and listening to Clarence and Lee. And to Lee and Clarence, again, thank you from the bottom of both my hearts. You guys are awesome. This is a pleasure. And for everyone who's ever been a guest on the show, thank you for your time. We appreciate your time. And as always, we will be back next time.
Next time.